Now this is moving into a parent who is trying to raise bilingual children. And so her question is, for kids being raised bilingual, should you teach reading phonics in one language at a time, or can you do it simultaneously? If you do it simultaneously, how do you help the kid keep English and the second language sort of apart and straight?
I'm
Okay.
gonna let Yvette answer that. She's bilingual.
Yes, as a bilingual learner myself. Well, English is my native language, but growing up, I was in a dual immersion program in New York City schools where we received instruction in Spanish. And just culturally, the Spanish language has always been around me and I love it. But there's a vast difference between English and Spanish. In English, we've got 44 different phonemes. So there's 44 sounds and letter combinations that represent all of the words in English. Whereas in Spanish, there's only 26. If we look at the vowels, A, E, I, and O have two forms. We have the short form and the long form. And then the letter U has three different pronunciations. And that's not even talking about vowel teams or anything different. But when it comes to Spanish or other languages, it's more concrete. You don't have the long sounds and the short sounds, like the vowels are what they are. So I've worked with students too who have had dyslexia and have been bilingual. And I noticed that there was some interchanging of the vowel sounds. And then I've worked with some students who are able to switch back and forth. So I don't know the brain research behind it being totally transparent, but I do think it's possible. And the reason I think it's possible is because you teach children the word attack strategies to approach text. So for instance, if we know in Spanish that K is pronounced as ka, is not a common letter in Spanish, but it's pronounced as ka, they still know how to decode words. So if we focus more so on the strategies and applying that to language, then it'll work. It's kind of like being able to play Monopoly and Scrabble. It's not like I'm going to get confused with the rules of one game with the other unless there's something cognitively going on. But I think it can happen together. And I think it's a great way to show the relationship between languages. And actually, last thing, I found that children who learn multiple languages are able to understand their native language better. So when we come to third grade, you think we transition in a curriculum to talk about Greek and Latin roots and multisyllabic words. And so if you speak a language like Spanish or a Romance language, the understanding of some of those words, whether they be oral or written or spoken words, will help you to find more meaning in English words. So I would say go full speed ahead. And if you see that their child is coming up with some barriers or confusing or swapping out sounds, then just kind of just be intentional and have a talk with them about it and say, these are the English phonemes and these are the Spanish phonemes. But of course, English is the most complicated. We've got 44 different sounds here and only 26 there. But I definitely think
it's a lot of parents who with especially, well, I've noticed Spanish. I was in New York and went 2 or 3 stores, and I noticed parents speaking to their kids in both languages. You know, they'll start a conversation and they may start a sentence in English and finish it in Spanish. And I was like, no wonder, because like my brain is not wired for another language. I'm just like fried right there, right? But I'm always amazed at little kids, especially who can speak both languages. And when I saw the parents interacting with their kids, like saying they part of it in one language and part of it in the other, and I was like, oh, no wonder they get it. They really, really get it. And the kid may answer them back in Spanish, or they may answer them back in English. So I was like, okay,
it's a good mix.
That's pretty neat.
How amazing is that? As young as they are and as pliable as their brains are, to be able to have 2 languages, while it's easy to pick that up. And I think that we as educators and parents all understand the importance of honoring home language, because it's an asset, whether it's Spanish or French or even African American vernacular English. You are able to communicate thoughts and feelings in multiple ways. So I would say continue with it.
Thank you. That's really helpful. One thing she's particularly said to me, and it was an English-Spanish speaker, was that her children get confused with the E and the I because, in Spanish, the I says E.
And the E says the sound in English that the A says.
Yes,
Yes.
But I love this when you're talking about attack it like with your what'd you say, phoneme?
Phoneme. So
Phoneme.
phonemes are the sounds that letters and letter combinations make. So if you
Okay.
have the strategy, and you can make it really fun, you can make a letter chart. Like we do keywords in English. So we might say A, apple, E, elephant. And so make one in English and then make one in Spanish. So if A says which is typically like, it sounds closer to our O, make a keyword too. Or make like Y says E, Y says the sound of long E in Spanish. So
That's
make a little chart in English and in Spanish, and then just have like little keywords or clue words so that kids can figure out the difference between the sounds.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. That's really, really helpful.